My name is Kris Gethin, and what I aim to bring to you is inspiration, motivation from clients, everything that will allow you to evolve as a human being. Hello, everybody. This is Kris Gethin, and this is the Kris Gethin podcast. And we've got a client's spotlight this week with a gentleman that I've been training for quite a while now, and the progress that he's gone through has been absolutely astounding. It's been very inspiring. I'm looking at his pictures right now, actually, and just seeing where he came from to where he is now is absolutely phenomenal. Now, when I look at the numbers on the scale, it wasn't a huge amount of weight loss as such. It's been a huge amount of fat loss and muscle gain. So when you build muscle and when you burn fat, obviously, there isn't going to be a huge change on the scales because the body composition is changing entirely. But if I look at the size of the waist to where it is now, to the abs, absolutely phenomenal. So I'd like to introduce you, everybody, to Langston Menezes. Have I pronounced your last name correct? Menezes? Menezes? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's Menezes. Yeah, Menezes.
I'm close. Obviously, we've been in conversation quite a lot, but I've never asked the pronunciation of your last name there. So could you tell listeners, and I'm gonna start off actually by showing these pictures. So here's the before image when you reached out to me there. Obviously, you can see quite a large waistline, didn't really look like you worked out much. Obviously, ate a little bit too much food.
Yeah.
And obviously you can see the back image there. I always like to show the back image because that's something that you cannot fake. And then from the side, we've got the side boob angle there.
Yeah.
And then we go to this is you by a waterfall here. Let me see if we can focus in there.
Yeah.
You see the abs, the pecs, the delts, the biceps, everything is really coming shape. And I always like to show the back image as well, because that is something that you cannot hide, where you had zero development. You had, your waist was as wide as your shoulders, where now you've got a phenomenal V-taper. You can see your rhomboids, you can see your traps, you can see your delts, absolutely phenomenal development there. So congratulations, brother, on not just an amazing transformation, but the progress thus far. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Have you had a history of working out, exercise, activity at all before you reached out to me? Had you tried plans before and failed? What's your background?
Just so everyone knows, my name is Langston. You obviously know that. I'm actually from Dubai. I was born and raised over there. And Kris, I've been actually following you for a very long time prior to this. I started training at the age of 20. And I used to train with my brother in the gym back then. And I was never someone who used to go to the gym. Like in the beginning, I would hate it. But he was the one who actually pushed me in the beginning, because he himself is into bodybuilding and everything. He doesn't compete or anything, but he is in fairly good shape, I think. And he was my inspiration at the time. And he was the one who actually introduced me to you. He was like, hey, so there's this guy whose name is Kris Gethin, and he has a program on bodybuilding.com. I used to follow you since then, when your programs were available over there. I do not know if they're there right now. And there's this one time, I think we started off with that. When I started bodybuilding, I think I followed, there was a 60-day Arnold Schwarzenegger program over there. Yeah, after that, I followed your program.
Yeah, the blueprint.
Yeah. And then it was a 12-week workout. And I remember there was a before and after picture of you on a dip machine. And I was like, oh, that is pretty neat, So I started training there, and I was getting better at the gym as time passed. But the only thing that I really was bad at, which is why I would not see results in the way I looked, it was just because of poor nutrition. And at the time I was in college, it was my second year of college, third year. And to be honest, at the time I was still eating like crap. I wasn't paying attention to it. But there was the one thing that was with me was the way I trained. I mean, I used to still, show up at the gym, obviously, because my brother kept telling me to. And at some point I realized that I need to do this for myself anyways. And it became a habit to go to the gym, but I don't think I was training as hard as I thought I was. So I've been training, I would say, intense. Yeah, I would just go, train and, come back. Sometimes the sessions were good, sometimes they weren't. It was not something, I did not have like a goal in mind to be like, oh, I want to lose weight. Like I did want to lose weight, but my diet was still bad, especially when you're with like my family was there. And it's not like my family didn't support me. It really has to come from within. And, I really crave sweets. I love sweets a lot. So, and especially living in Dubai, it was like, yeah, you're surrounded with all
Yeah,
these restaurants and
they have
everything. Then
great, yeah, they have
it becomes
great
difficult.
pastries and desserts. Yeah, I've spent some
Yeah.
time in Dubai. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. You've been there. You probably know what I'm talking about. So that was the problem. And then after that, I came to the US to study and everything. And then I also started getting serious with training over here. I never stopped going to the gym. But again, nutrition was always a problem. Especially in college, there was very less time to, do any meal prepping and whatnot. I don't want to say that's an excuse. I mean, I want to say that's an excuse because maybe there was time. And if I look back, to be really honest, if I had to make some time, I guess I could have probably made that, change. But it's also the amount of knowledge you have, like what should you eat, like how much of protein should you consume, how much of carbs you should consume, the sleep and everything. So a lot of the stuff is compromised, especially when you're like, staying up late for an exam or, so I never really, saw a lot of progress. I was stronger, but there was no progress. So it was just like, it was, kind of demotivating. I started working in 2019. I got my job right out of college. A year after that, that was in 2020, post COVID. During COVID, I was only training at home because the gyms are closed.
Mhm.
So I would never let that be an excuse. Like, so the one thing I know about me in all these years was my training consistency. I was always very consistent with my training, but because of poor nutrition and just not, caring about it, I was never seeing results. So that was my thing. And then I knew you were offering a program. I think then you made an announcement on Instagram saying that you're offering a one-on-one coaching and whatnot, but I was still very hesitant to take it. I was like, what if it doesn't work? And then I think you had some other programs that came along, you had like a 12-week program, which was a 12-week lean muscle trainer.
Oh yeah,
It was, you
yeah.
trained two of your clients. It was
Yeah,
a DJ and someone else.
Kai
Kai,
Wachi,
yes, Kai Wachi, yeah.
and
I do follow him.
Danielle, and they both got
Yeah,
phenomenal results.
yeah. Uh, yeah, they were amazing. I actually did see some results there, but not as significant as what it was now. Like I was getting better. I was just like, I lost some weight as well, but not a significant transformation again, because I wasn't following the nutrition protocol that you had in that. I was doing my own thing, it was just like, I wasn't following it. And that's on me. It's not like anyone's thing. And that's just my own fault, because I thought that maybe if I train hard and I eat what I want, I'll still get the same result. It never really works that way. And then at some point, I think even after the 60 days shred, it was like the same thing. And I was like, I think I need someone to be, I need to have someone who can make me accountable. And maybe I just need something that's a little bit more catered to my lifestyle. Because my lifestyle, despite following those programs, was very different from what everyone else followed. Because I work shifts, I work nights, things change when you work in that dynamic. And then I was like, maybe if I reach out to you, you might be able to help guide me there. And that's when I was like, like in 2021, 2021, I was like, I made the decision to be like, you know what, this year I want to just focus on my body. No matter what, it's like a one-time thing. Let me just get it done, And that's when I reached out to you and I made the decision.
Right. Okay.
I know
Interesting.
I went all over the place, but
No,
like,
no, 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 no.
yeah,
That's a great answer. So, this is a common thread actually with people that I've started working with, where they've followed one of my
yeah,
programs or someone else's programs, and they are following the training part. They're able to show up to the gym or train from home, wherever
yeah,
it may be. But it's the nutrition part where they lack. They're either overeating, not eating enough, following their own diet, or following their own diet on the weekends, but being strict during the week. It's the nutritional aspect that they're really failing at. That seems to be a very common thread, because you're always having to prepare food, think about food, carry food, eat food, as opposed to the gym. You just need to show up for an hour, five times a week, and that's really it. And the cardio, of course, but it's the nutrition part, especially if you're one of those people that has cravings. Like you said, you have cravings for sweet. So what can you do to mitigate those damages and those cravings? in order to
Yeah.
continue with the process of healthy eating, but you're eating so much food, which you definitely was, that you're not even thinking about craving because you're eating little and often all the time, that your blood sugar
Yeah.
levels become so much more stable, dependent on the day, if you're controlled fasting or eating 6 meals with frequency. You're able to control that a lot more. Now, you mentioned about, your lifestyle was very different compared to a lot of others. Now, in regards to like shift work, the amount of hours that you worked, how many days that you had to work, could you paint a picture of what that looked like? So now we have to understand, how were you able to navigate that shift work or the amount of hours that you had to work? Can you paint us a picture so the listeners and viewers have a better idea of what your work schedule or your commitments on top of that look like?
Are you talking about once I started the program with you? Like
Yeah,
how did
yeah, because there's a
I?
lot of people will
Okay, yeah.
say, I can't follow that program because I work 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, or I have commitments on weekends, or I've got shift work, and I'll use that as an excuse. So I'd like to know, what
Yeah.
what did you have to overcome?
The one thing I had to overcome first is my excuse. So that's like the number one thing. I couldn't tell myself, I couldn't give myself the excuse saying that this is what I have. It's like more like, what, these are the cards I have and I'm going to deal with this. That's how I looked at it. So I was like, okay, I have this much amount of time, so like there are some weekends that I worked and some weekends I do not work. So let's just say I'm working, let's just say, for example, it's a Sunday, I'm off that Sunday and I'm working a Monday and a Tuesday. So that's like, let's say I'm working on a day shift on a Monday and a Tuesday. So I usually, meal prep on a Sunday. So I think I followed your advice of you can either pick 2 days a week to meal prep and figure
Correct.
out some time over there. And, at least at the most spend an hour or two, which is, I think, a decent amount. So I would grocery shop on Sunday, sometimes Saturdays, it depends on my availability. And I would make sure that no matter what, I meal prep on a specific day, which was Sunday. That was the best day for me. Because I wouldn't train on that day, regardless whether I work or not. I definitely, even if I'm working on a Sunday, whether it's a morning or a daytime, I have decent amount of hours to meal prep. So I had to make sure that I had a window where this time was there too for meal planning, because like I said, nutrition is the only thing that's going to set you off your path. And for me, that was very important because during the week, it's very difficult for me to prepare something just because the amount of time, and I'm working out, I'm, either studying or working, and, there's a lot of other things that I had. So I made sure I prepared my meals ahead of time. I grocery shopped everything that I needed, what was on that list, which you had, made sure that it was in the fridge, made sure that I was top notch on all of that stuff. So always prepare ahead of time. Do not do anything at the last minute because that's just going to set you. So that was my thing. So I prepared the meals, I put them in like food bags, and I had to freeze some of my meals as well. And what it would look like is like, obviously you wake up in the morning to wake up a little earlier to do your cardio. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to wake up early to do my cardio. So I would either do it during my lunchtime or do it at some other time
So
or on another day.
I'd like to
That
know,
was a little.
what are the hours that you would generally wake up and go to sleep? And what are the hours that you have to work? So people have an understand when you're saying shift work, and is that like on weekends as well? How did it look like?
6:30 in the morning until 6:30 in the evening.
12-hour shift.
So I had to wake up 12-hour shift. So I had to wake up at least at around 5 or at least 5:15 at the latest, to be able to, have my breakfast or work out so that I had enough time to prepare. The fortunate thing I would say is that I was working from home. So I didn't have the time to commute and everything. But even if I had the commute time, I would have to wake up earlier, whatever, I would have to still do it because you kind of have to do what you have to do. Because I entered this knowing that I would probably be going to work sometime soon, but that just never happened. And I was like, okay, fine. And that's just more time for me. So I, wake up around 5 a.m., I'd say my prayers and everything, just get some time for myself. And I would just immediately hop onto the cardio machine. I have a treadmill at home, but even if like you don't have a treadmill at home, I think there was another thing that you recommended, which was like a 20-minute cardio hit workout. So I would do that sometimes because sometimes just walking on the treadmill early in the morning was not getting it. So I had to get something. I just wanted to get my heart rate up. And then followed by that, I'd shower everything and I would have my breakfast. I would have my oatmeal, then just get to work and log into the computer and start.
So then you'd work
So
6 in the morning,
and
6:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening. And how many days would you work those hours before then you'd have to change? And then what hours would you change on your shift?
so this is how it works. So let's start from a Monday. So let's say I'm working Monday. I work Monday 6:30 to 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the evening. Tuesday 6:30 in the morning and 6:30 in the evening. And then Wednesday, Thursday, I'm off. And then
That's your weekend.
Friday night, and then the Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night I work.
And
Right. So that's
from
like the first.
6:30. Is that from 6:30 in the evening then?
Yes, 6:30 in the evening to 6:30 in the morning.
Wow. Okay.
So it changes. It changes. All right. And then so let's just say that's throughout the weekend, and then on Sunday night, 6:30 in the evening until Monday morning, 6:30 in the morning. That's my last shift. And then I sleep until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I wake up, and then so that Monday I'm off and the Tuesday I'm off. And then Wednesday, Thursday I work again. It's a day shift that now it's switched because I worked the previous shift was night. Now it's days. And then I work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I'm off. So it's like a whole 3-day weekend.
Got it.
So it alternates. So I have like a 50-hour week and I have a 37-hour week.
Right. I was going to say, one of the advantages to that, I guess, is that on the weekends, occasionally you can be antisocial, so you don't get encouraged to go out and party or something like that. But
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it did help. It did help.
Yeah, but that's a struggle, because I have several people that, that have contacted me before and said, oh, I'd like to do something like that, but I can't. I work shift work. But you can. You just have to plan in advance, when you train, when you sleep, when you're going to get your meals, when you're going to food prep. Obviously, it just comes down to preparation is key. And as I always say, if you fail to prepare, you're prepared to fail. But it all comes down to how bad you want it. If you want it bad enough, you will find a way of doing it and achieving it. So going through this transformation, which, I've shown the pictures at the beginning, you can see it's absolutely phenomenal transformation.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't all easy, it's definitely difficult. There's parts of it that are a little bit more challenging than others. What did you find were your biggest challenges of doing this transformation?
The biggest challenges for me, obviously, craving for sweets. I mean, I don't know how I did this firstly, but I gave up ice cream for like a good 6 months, which is something was very difficult for me to do. Everyone knows me as someone who finishes a tub of ice cream in like less than 2 days. And now that I was on this, I was not doing that. And it was kind of weird for me too. But I mean, at some point you get used to it. So, but I think the sugar craving was something that I had a lot of challenges with. And I think I should keep emailing that to you as well. And then there were always, I think the casein helped, or just having a lot of fiber, like, veggies, it did help. I think getting the right amount of sleep was challenging because sometimes, especially when you're working a night shift and you're looking at a screen, and to get a good 7 hours sleep, quality sleep, is very difficult following that night. It was not always easy. There were some days I did get good sleep, and some days I wouldn't. So usually I would measure that using my Fitbit. So it tells me like, okay, you're even if I had like a 7 hour sleep, my D sleep was bad, my REM was bad, then I wouldn't feel like training after that, So those days I would be like, okay, let's take this as a rest day, and then I'll just train some other day when I'm off. So sleep was definitely challenging for me. But the way I think I rectified that was I had those glasses, the one which you're wearing, actually. I think I got the same one. Yeah, I have those. Yeah, I have those. It's actually somewhere there. And I used to use that. And I also had the red ones. So I use that as well. I use that in the night when I'm looking at the screen, three hours prior to sleeping. And I would say that definitely played a role in at least helping me get at least sleep faster, if anything. It does its magic.
Yeah,
your melatonin levels are compromised.
Especially for people that are working shift work. The yellow lens that I've got on right now, because I've got 2 big lights on me that penetrate in my retina with a lot of artificial blue light. Now, a little bit of blue light is okay, and the yellow lens allows some of that blue light through, but the red lens blocks all
Yeah.
of it. So that then prevents the blue light from penetrating the retina, which tells you that it's daylight, which raises your cortisol levels and doesn't allow your melatonin to release, to put you in that calm state and switch your mind off so you can go into deep and REM sleep cycles. And that's what a lot of people face, especially
Yeah.
shift workers, when sleep is so valuable. So by you wearing those blue blocks, that is how it really, really helped you. And you can, it isn't something that you assume is working. You're able to quantify it by looking at your deep sleep and REM cycles. So that's a great that you
Yeah.
work with that. And CBD helps a lot of people as well.
I used CBD for a while. Then I just thought that, I mean, sometimes I would just forget to take it. I would just I feel like the glasses were a job, but CBD, I think I bought the Ned one that you had. I know it's pretty good. It did
Yeah.
help. I don't know how much it did, to be really honest. I couldn't quantify that, or maybe I just, there were some days I forgot to wear my Fitbit, so I can't really say. But I do know that the glasses was definitely something that it's helpful. Maybe even blue light blocking glasses might help. I personally just wanted something which was a different color, because just looking at the screen for 12 hours
Yeah.
is just not, it's not good. It's not the best. And I wanted something that would calm my eyes down, because if your eyes are strained, it's even harder to work or even stay up. So
Yeah.
that's what worked for me. The next thing what was challenging is I had to say no to a lot of people for social gatherings, not just social gathering. I mean, I think the only thing that I had was the 4th of July one, where I went out with my friends, and I even I took my own meals there. So at the time, I think for that specific week, I ordered it from Nutrition Solutions, because I was like, I don't want to cook this time, and I wanted to make sure I could take my food outside. So I had to plan that ahead as well, because I was like, okay, we're going to be going out on this weekend. So I had to plan ahead just so that I was not going to cheat. Because if you're going out with friends, you could probably be eating pizzas, you could probably be eating, anything that's bad. And I just didn't want to mess up, you know? Like, I mean, I love pizza and everything, but I didn't want to cheat that bad. Like, I'm not saying that I never cheated. I'm saying there were times where, maybe I would have like a biscuit or two, but I would keep it at a minimum. I would just make sure I wouldn't go above a threshold. And there were weeks where I never cheated. There were weeks which I did. I'm not going to lie. I want to be transparent about it. But I just made sure that when it comes to like social gatherings, I don't be the one who orders food, or at least order something that's going to be inflammatory to me. And if I did, it had to be really, it had to be something that was allowed. So like a steak was fine. If it was a steak, I think that would be fine, because I think that was allowed. I think I even asked you, can I eat steak or salmon outside if I go? And you were like, yeah, that's fine. You can eat that, or seafood, something that is going to be in my caloric requirement, and it wouldn't make me get out of my diet, because a pizza was not going to do it. So that was the challenge, say no to your friends. I mean, it's not a challenge really. I mean, the good thing is that they were supportive too. They're like, you know what, it's fine. If you want to eat your own thing, that's fine. So it's always, I think, very good to have a good social support system around you. And in fact, they were even inspired. They're like, wow, like they admire the fact that I was very dedicated. So that's good, versus you could have friends that might be telling you, oh, you're missing out on this. This is delicious. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. When you have peer pressure from people that are so-called friends and like, come on, just have a little bit or just drink a little bit more alcohol, have some fun. It's, at the end of the day, you could for momentarily have a little bit of relief or fun, but you're only going to wake up the next day or have immediate regret following, because you devoted so much time in not only transforming, losing weight, putting on muscle, but improving your quality of life, your health. It's an investment in your future, not just for the 12 weeks or whatever it may be. It's for your future. The decisions that you make now will either thank you or will hate you in the future.
Exactly. So that's the way I looked at it. I was like, this is only like 6 months or 7 months of my life where I'm going to be, following a very strict diet. And later on, once I actually get my results and everything, then I can obviously eat something that's once in a while, I can eat something that's maybe bad or whatever. But I wanted to always make sure that like my gut was fine, because I had gut issues. And if I eat something bad, then that affects my gut, and then that affects my training, and it affects everything else. So, the diet that you actually gave me was very gut friendly, I would say, because I had no gut issues for those 6 months at all. Like I was perfectly fine. And, just not eating outside helped. I mean, to top it all off, it saves you money, firstly.
Yeah.
So, and the best thing is you're eating healthy. So I think that was so sleep, say no to people, and sugar. These are the three big challenges I would say I faced. Um, Apart from that, also doing cardio. Oh yeah, cardio was very difficult. Like I had to somehow schedule. If I couldn't do one cardio session, I had to move it around somewhere in the week to do it or something like that. So that was making time for that can be very difficult.
So you mentioned about that you used to have gut issues, and you'd feel bloated or some form of inflammation if you ate something that's kind of off the diet. And I'm really glad that you said that you had no issues while you were on this particular program, because what we try to do is prioritize your gut health. The majority of your hormones and your immune system are all produced within the gut, and you can get a chemical response from the gut that can lead to the brain as well. But if you're feeling bloated, if you're not able to synthesize your food because of leaky gut syndrome, gut dysbiosis, you don't have enough opportunist flora in there, you're not having enough fiber, then that is going to wreak havoc on your ability to synthesize foods, like I said, on hormone production, which is essential in order to feel good. So by having things, your prebiotic fiber, your probiotics, maybe some kefir, and more importantly, eating food that is like grass-fed, wild caught, humane raised, organic. So you're not consuming all the antibiotics and the pesticides and the herbicides that's potentially on that food. Yeah. So obviously your gut is going to thank you. Now, as I mentioned before, that inflammatory response, especially when it becomes systemic, can lead to a chemical response in your brain. So I'd like to know, did you notice any difference in the way that you used to think compared to the way that you feel and think now? Basically from the neck up. We can see that you look and feel phenomenal from the neck down, but what about your brain function, your cognitive function? Any difference there from before to now?
When you eat better, you feel better. And, I would say in terms of cognitive function, I can think a lot more clearer. I have more focus in whatever I do. Yeah, I would say I'm a lot more focused than before. Like if you have a bad gut, to be honest, like you just don't feel like it affects your brain, like you said, and you might end up procrastinating and might a lot of other things. You might not put in your best effort when it comes to anything, even if it comes to your work or training or whatever. I think that diet, I don't know if this answers your question, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, I felt better. I could think more better. I was more responsive, I would say. Yeah. More alert.
I've noticed that as well.
I would say that, yeah.
I was doing bodybuilding for many, many years, and I was eating what I assumed was healthy. However, I didn't care about where those protein sources came from. I didn't care if I used like a load of sweetener on top of my oats and loads of pancake syrup. That was all sugar-free, obviously, but still there was a lot of product ingredients that I couldn't pronounce, so my body couldn't recognize it. And I couldn't, I understand, especially here in the US, there's a lot of hormones in the foods. And I'm eating a lot of food at that stage, a lot more than the average consumer. So that was leading to a lot more chemical responses, even though I thought I was eating healthy. And then when I started changing, eliminating artificial colors, artificial flavors, having a little bit of artificial sweetener, not much, and just going whole food, and making sure that I'm getting a lot of more omega-3 oils from the salmon and the steak that I'm eating, as opposed to the omega-6 that was coming from the cheap produce that I was getting from the supermarket. And then I noticed, oh, wow, I'm no longer in an R-ing thinking of the words, or I'm being a little bit more responsive. And as you so rightfully mentioned, less procrastination, because if you've got a little bit of brain fog, there's a bit of a justification there for an excuse. You're not feeling like as energetic or confident as you possibly could. And, you could think twice about lacing up your shoes and going outside for a walk or a run, as opposed to just getting out there with an instant reaction because discipline is set in. So, that's one thing that I noticed with myself, and some clients do, out of curiosity. I always like to dig in to
Yeah.
see if that, people had noticed a difference within that change as well. And I think it's quite ironic that people say, oh, I don't have the energy to get up in the morning or do cardio. But if they actually got up in the morning, got the blood flow around their body, which then leads to blood flow to the brain, they're going to feel more alert. They're going to have more focus and energy
Yeah.
for the day to get more
Absolutely.
activity done.
100%. Yeah. Waking up early in the morning is definitely, I mean, obviously, if you're working a normal, on some days I couldn't do that because I was working the night, but like, I just think waking up early, you kind of set yourself up for the day. And I think that was like, so that was the best excuse I could use. So, you know what? If you wake up, you do your cardio, you'd at least feel better, if anything. And
Yeah.
that's what I wanted, because you don't want to have a lethargic day. So yeah, but I definitely think like my gut health was significantly, it improved during that time, and it still is. It's still in its I'm still making sure it's not, I don't have inflammatory stuff or whatever to harm it, because I stayed away from dairy. I think you did mention you can't have milk, and I would stay away from that. I would have almond milk just for my oats, like a little bit,
Yeah.
but almond milk didn't have any effects on my gut or anything. It was like normal. So
Yeah. Now you're getting less lactose because some people don't have the
yeah,
lactase enzyme to break down the lactose that they'll find in dairy. And that's why, with our
yeah,
protein powders, we wanted to make sure that we have less than 1 gram of lactose plus the digestive enzyme to help people break it down, because not everybody
yeah,
can break down a whey protein, even a whey protein isolate as other people, so I want to make sure,
yeah,
because dairy can be
yeah.
difficult for some people to digest. Now, I just got one question about your cravings. How did you manage your cravings? Did you find that eating often was better, having casein or hydrocharge, or having some carbonation in water? Was there anything that you found in particular that helped you overcome cravings? Maybe more sleep helped.
More sleep, definitely, I would say. Yeah, more sleep could have helped. I mean, I got at the most an average 7 to 8 hours, but I think meal frequency and in having more veggies in your diet, like I had to just increase the amount of fiber I was consuming. Sometimes I would just have, the casein did help. I was like, you know what, you make, it's pretty easy to make, firstly, and I would add like maybe 2 or 3 walnuts in there, or 2 or 3 almonds in there, just to make it a little bit crunchier. And once you have that, you're kind of like, you're pretty much full. You don't want to have anything else after that.
When you have the ice cream, sorry to cut you off, like that's kind of nurturing and people
Yeah,
like that. It's comforting. It's a comfort food. So with the casein, you're able to have some of that comfort within that nurturing kind of dairy field. But then it's nice to have some crunch.
exactly.
Well, some anger and nurture is the perfect combination.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll throw in some blueberries there too. So that would help. So blueberries, casein, I think that was like the one thing that actually helped me, be like, you know what, you don't have to eat something really sweet. Also, just don't buy the if you don't buy it from the grocery item, you don't have a choice. So it's like you're
Yeah.
at home, you don't have it, work with what you have. The whey isolate did help as well. The whey protein isolate, the chocolate flavored one, I think by far it's the best tasting one that I've had. So like I would just make like a scoop and I would make it in a shake. Or sometimes I blend it with some almond milk
Mhm.
in the blender, and I would have it. It would taste amazing. Like you don't need anything after that, honestly.
Yeah.
You're full, it's very thick. So that helped. You got to drink a lot of water.
Mhm.
Also, I mean, aside from this protein and everything, I had a lot of hydrocharge. I still do. I mean, I think hydrocharge is the one thing that actually helps me drink more water, because I honestly cannot, it's very hard for me to finish a gallon per day, but at least having something like a flavor helps, if anything. So hydrocharge was the one thing that I would just put it in the shaker and I would have it sometimes once or twice a day. And also consuming water, so it's either hydrocharge or it's the amino synergy.
Synergy.
That's
Yeah.
something that I would have it in the morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would have that in the
Having that,
morning.
having that
But that
flavor
was
really
mainly so
helps.
that I could do my cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just flavored. Don't, I mean, I don't advocate for like Gatorade or anything, because I feel like that's a lot of sugar. So
A
that's
lot
just
of
something
sugar,
that
a lot
I've
of
never had
artificial
it.
colors,
It might,
artificial flavors. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's like that's not something that I'd advocate for. I mean, maybe some people might disagree, but just have some flavor in your water. So just plenty of fluid, something that's healthy, like a healthy snack like casein or anything that you might have.
Yeah.
That helps. So yeah,
And
that's all I could think of, honestly. I don't have anything else because there was really nothing else that I could have outside
yeah,
the
that's
diet,
true.
right? So
That's true. And like if you have a bit of sweetness from the fruits, from
yeah.
like the blueberries or strawberries, okay, that satisfies.
Yeah.
And you want the chocolate flavor or chocolate peanut butter. There's always a protein powder or casein that can fill that need. And it's usually an instant reaction. It's
Pretty
like,
much.
hey, what do I usually want? Ice cream. Okay, what can I have? Alternative. By the time you've had that alternative, you're usually satisfied because you've given your body some substance or sustenance, and then you've given yourself time as well. But that's why I tell people, if you get a craving, maybe just immediately lace up and go for a walk, because by the time you've finished walking your dog in 10 minutes, that time has passed as well. It's just an initial reaction, and your brain is telling
A
you
good
it
trick.
wants that bliss
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to mention,
Yeah.
because I like
That's
to
a
wake
very
up in the morning and read some studies. And there was a new study that was sent to me this morning that I was reading, that I'm subscribed to a few sites, that fiber, having a lot of prebiotic fiber, a lot of vegetables, has been shown that it can prevent or can be used to prevent possible dementia in our future as well. So, everybody out there, eat lots of veggies. As your mother said, finish all the greens on your plate, because there's definitely more value to that than we may already know. One question I'd like to ask before we wrap this up is, what advice would you give to anybody out there that may be listening or watching this video or listening on any of the podcast platforms? There's a lot of people out there that have not made the step to transform themselves, to eat a healthier lifestyle, to control their environments. What advice would you give out to the people there listening?
If you're someone who wants to transform your body, whether it's losing weight or building muscle or just whatever your goal is, you ask yourself like why you want that specific goal in the first place. And if you ask yourself why you want it, I think no matter what comes your way, you will always figure out a way to get that, just because that's what worked for me. I personally was like, my why was really strong. I was like, I need to make sure I get my body transformed no matter what. I can't stay like this for the rest of my life. I have to make sure that, I live in a healthy body, because this is essentially like, this is the best product that you can ever work on, your own body and your mind as well. Try to find someone or a mentor who can help you get there, because there's always someone who's better than you. There's always, you might not have all the answers when it comes to, especially when it's training your nutrition, your diet. If you're someone who plays soccer, you might need a different kind of training. If you're someone who's just an athlete or a tennis player, it requires a different kind of training. So make sure if you want to get to a specific goal, you follow someone who has already done that. And especially you follow someone or you train with someone who has trained a lot of other people who got the results that you either are looking for, or at least you want something that's similar, if anything. Always be ready to invest in yourself. I know when it comes to like training and everything, I mean, I know that it can be very expensive, but I always tell people, when it comes to like your health, like you can either pay for yourself now, or you pay yourself years down the line in a hospital. And I'm just like, I know it's very rude to say that, but like, there's always a cost to something. I think there's always a cost to whatever. And I feel like, if you can afford to make yourself better right now, just go for it. Take the leap of faith and go for it.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap, like as you said that, like I'm going to be flying overseas to get stem cells now in at the end of in April. That's not cheap. It's quite expensive. It's a lot cheaper to go overseas and get an efficacious dose of it than actually getting it here in the US or go to the UK. However, it's still quite expensive, but I see that as an investment in my future. Look, I could get by with, with the issues that I have now. I've accumulated a lot of injuries over the years, racing motocross, downhill mountain biking, snowboarding, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they rear their ugly heads, but I can get by with it right now. But I like to be athletic. I like to push myself physically and mentally. So I've got no no aspirations of slowing down anytime soon. So I'm going to invest in myself because your health and your happiness is priceless at the end of the day. Could I spend that on a car? Could I spend that on an investment, on a property or something like that? Sure, I could, no worries. But I want to invest it in myself because that's the most valuable asset to myself. So, I'm glad that you mentioned that because, a lot of people leave themselves last, unfortunately, until it's too late. Like you said, now they're investing in, medical bills and whatnot. So glad that you mentioned that.
That's not something you want to pay for. Yeah. So that's the way I thought. And I don't want to ever get like diabetes or something. And that's just something that scares me too. So I guess that's what, at least if anyone wants to know, that's what made me get to that decision faster, because I don't want to be paying medical bills. I'd rather be paying for better food than that. So
yeah.
That's just the way I get it.
All right. Well, thank you ever so much for coming on, Langston. And it's been a pleasure actually working with you so far. So far you've been absolutely awesome. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. If people were to reach out to you and maybe ask you some questions personally, is there somewhere they can reach out or follow you and ask any questions?
Sure. So that's at Langston Menezes. So that's LANGSTON That's it.
Perfect.
So you can send me a message over there. If you want, you can follow me there. I post a lot of my fitness content there as well, just for documenting my journey. Also, if you see, I've the entire thing has been documented while following you as well. So not the entire thing, but pretty much some of my workouts. But yeah, regardless, you can reach out to me over there, ask me questions about anything, and yeah, I'll be happy to answer.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. So that is it for this week from myself and Langston. This is the Kris Gethin podcast. If you do like this podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you do have any questions, ask them in the comment section. But if you want to share this with someone, please do. And like, comment, and subscribe. We are out. Thank you ever so much for listening. My name is Kris Gethin, and I am out.